I want to do a couple of programming examples from the book. So the first one I want to do is 3.3. This is kind of an interesting one. I don't typically assign this as a problem, but I actually think this is a really fun one to do. So I'm going to go ahead and read the description. So write a program that creates and prints a random phone number of the format XXX-XXX-XXXX. Include the dashes in the output. Do not let the first three digits contain an 8 or a 9, but don't be more restrictive than that. And make sure the second set of the three digits is not greater than 165. Hint, think through the easiest way to construct a phone number. Each digit does not have to be determined separately. So for each of the first three numbers of the phone number, it cannot contain an 8 or a 9. So that means we're going to have to generate these separately. So we want a random number between 0 and 7 for the first, second, and the third. So I'm going to generate three different numbers for that. The second set of three numbers cannot be greater than 655. So I can go from 0 to 655. Now you have to be careful with this because 0 only has one digit and 655 has three digits. So we can actually run into the case where we only generate one number for those three digits. And I'll show you what we can do to prevent that from happening. So the last four digits, there's no restriction on the numbers. So we can go from 0 to 9,909. So I created this program to generate a random phone number. I put all the specifications that we just read from the book here. I went ahead and imported my random class, and then I went ahead and instantiated an instance of my random object. So the first thing I want to do is generate the first three numbers. This is actually going to be pretty easy. The range of that is going to be 0 through 7. So I'm going to go ahead and generate the first three numbers of this phone number. So here's my output. I went ahead and made a statement that I'm generating a random phone number. I'm using printf, and I'm using the format they wanted me to use. But for the first three digits, I'm using %d, which the %d is for an integer, and then I'm generating 0 through 7 here, 0 through 7 here, and 0 through 7 here. So those numbers would be randomly generated right here. So I'm going to go ahead and compile and run this program, and here's my output. I'm going to go ahead and run this a few times so we can see the first three numbers are being randomly generated. All right, so we can see that these first three numbers are being randomly generated. The next step is to generate the second set of three digits, but the value for that is going to be 0 through 655. I'm going to go ahead and add that code. So I added the code, so my second set of three digits will be 0 through 655. So I pass in a 656, and that's going to give me a range of 0 through 655, and I'm putting that value right here. So let's compile and run this program, and let's look at the results. So I compile and run this program. I'm going to go ahead and run this a few times. I'm going to pay attention to these three digits. I'm going to see if we always get three digits for the second set of three digits. So the last time I ran the program, I got a 28. Notice how that's not three digits, so this doesn't really comply with what my format's supposed to be. So what can we do to put a 0 in front of this 28? One of the things we can do is modify this formatter right here in our printf. If you actually look at the API documentation, they tell you what you can do to pad this with zeros. Now, this is something that wasn't discussed in the books or the lectures, so I'm making the assumption that they were just assuming that students would go and read the API. So the way we can fix this is we can put a 0 because we want to pad this with zeros, but we want this to be 3 digits long, so we're going to put a 3. So we added a 0 and a 3. So let's compile and run this program several times so that we can look at our results. So here are my results. I'm going to go ahead and run this several times and I'm going to look for zeros being padded to this number. And there you go. On my second try, I got 17. 17 is only 2 digits, but a 0 was added, so the second set could be 3 digits. I'm going to go and run it a few more times. I got a 76, I put a 0. So I got a 1, and it went ahead and padded 2 zeros in front of it. So you can see that it's keeping this second set to 3 digits. So the last 4 digits can be 0 through 9,909. So I'm going to use the same format that I did here, except I'm going to put a 4 because I want it to be 4 digits long. I went ahead and added this formatter, and what this is going to do is make sure that our last set of numbers is going to be 4 digits long. So if the random number that is generated is ever not 4 digits, it's going to be padded with zeros. So I'm passing in a 10,000. The reason I'm passing in 10,000 is because passing in 10,000 is going to give me the range from 0 through 9,909. So I'm going to compile and run this program, and let's look at the results. And here are my results. I'm going to go ahead and run this a few more times. So when you first read this program, it seemed pretty complicated. It is actually kind of complicated if you don't know how to use these formatting methods, but using the random object, we can simply generate these numbers and stay within all the requirements of their format.